In the Netherlands, the implosion of a right-wing nationalist party can be observed these days, which a year ago had hoped to become the third or even second strongest political force in the country. Thierry Baudet led the Forum for Democracy, which he founded 4 years ago, into an abyss of anti-Semitism and racism, followed by a merciless internal power struggle. Baudet has now won, but only has one torso in front of him and has to start over. 37-year-old Baudet seemed to have everything a nationalist party leader in Western Europe needs to get far up. He's intelligent, telegenic, narcissistic, always good for a surprise, has qualities as an actor and political comedian. Some media, including more liberal ones, had fallen in love with him and accompanied his rise to the new star of the right with undisguised fascination and little distance. How the former law lecturer fooled all of Europe in 2015 with a successful referendum against the association treaty of EU with Ukraine. How he then went into politics. How the 2019 forum led to a sensational national victory in the provincial elections, and how the polls kept getting better. Baudet succeeded in stylizing himself as a friendly conservative, as an alternative for voters for whom Prime Minister Mark Rutte and his right-wing liberals were too lax, and Geert Wilders' PVV was too fixated on criticizing Islam. The forum, which railed against the EU, wants to stop migration and considers climate change to be a left-wing invention, has become socially acceptable that it has really been included in the first government coalitions at regional level. The darker side of Baudet was less noticed, more likely to be laughed at and to some extent deliberately overlooked. His dream of a return to the 19th century, his hatred of modernity and its aesthetics, his reactionary image of women, his undisguised xenophobia, his theories of white dominance, his acquaintance with relevant representatives of the European and American identity and old right scene, such as the racist Jared Taylor, but also with right-wing extremists such as Jean-Marie Le Pen. Not that Baudet met all observers with his nose at this thinking. That would have prevented a broader eligibility. Rather, he played the dog-whistling game that German AfD politicians such as Björn Höcke, or is it Bernd, have also mastered. You express yourself in codes that are immediately understood in the right-wing and right-wing intellectual scene. One example is the boreal world, about which Baudet spoke several times, a term that actually only means north, but would be translated as Aryan by connoisseurs of fascist ideology. Part of the game is to act stupid in public afterwards and to mark the pursued innocence. We had an example for that yesterday again, when an AfD member published a picture of a lot of German prime ministers standing together, drinking, eating something, and blaming them for not wearing masks. The picture was from 2019, and then afterwards he apologized, but he knew what he did, because of course you can apologize afterwards, but the picture is out there, and your tinfoil hat followers will publish that everywhere with claiming that's an actual picture, and that's the way it works with the right-wing guys. The success of this game was Baudet's undoing. The party leader relies on bases that can read such codes and approves of them. This faction is particularly strong in the youth organization JFVD. Its chairman, Freek Janssen, is a close confidant of Baudet. When a newspaper recently published anti-Semitic and racist remarks from the chats by JFVD members, Baudet did not clean up, but instead took a protective stand in front of Janssen. This led to fierce criticism within the party and widened the gap that had existed for a long time between the autocratic party founder, who considers himself irreplaceable, and the moderate part. Baudet spoke of stabbing the dagger, first resigned as party leader, then he struck back. He organized a quick membership referendum in which 3/4 of those who voted supported him. Several comrades in arms in the national parliament, many regional officials and all MEPs of the forum have left the party. Baudet now wants to look ahead to the parliamentary elections in spring, but he is heavily burdened by accusations of his critics, who allowed a look at the real Baudet. Accordingly, At private gatherings, he has expressed himself blatantly anti-Semitic and conspiracy ideology. Suddenly, Thierry shouted that George Soros and others had brought Corona into the world to take our freedom and establish a new world domination, reported a member of the party leadership. A former partner who helped organize the Ukraine referendum brought together further evidence of the politician's anti-Semitic convictions. For the time being, Baudet will remain in the Netherlands as a politician whose work is interpreted very differently. Some asked why many media reported so uncritically about Baudet for a long time, even though Baudet's ideological position should have been known long ago.